I just thought about this. Next month makes 23 years that I'm living in Nashville or Tennessee from Georgia. So I thought about this because some guy made a post about something and I was commenting about Tennessee. He made a comment, my home state of Georgia. So he looked me up and realized that I was talking even though I was originally from Georgia. Yeah, 23 years in Tennessee. I'm a Tennessean and I feel that way. Home is always my mom's in Georgia. But I live in Tennessee. I have for years. My son's in Tennessee. He's only known Tennessee. Going to grandma's is going to grandma's. But what I was thinking about was this really odd moment when I was in college. I was playing with a group called the Shreds. I was probably, my first or second year at UGA. We were traveling. Every weekend we went and we were playing on different campuses, fraternities or either some sort of school event. We played a lot of the school events. We were playing, at that time, what was called alternative music. We were playing The Cure, we were playing The Smiths, we were playing everything that was out there. We were playing Dinosaur Jr. before anybody even had a clue what that kind of was. It was still underground when we were playing it, even though Athens at the time was blowing up in 1990 with REM and everything that was following the trail from Athens and Seattle back and forth. So music was pretty cool. So we were playing a lot of the stuff that was about to change and become popular, which was fun. It was very cool to do. So we would travel around, but the story goes to going to Nashville. We had to go and play at Vanderbilt University at a fraternity. I absolutely remember everything about this for some reason. And that's when I decided to start changing my drums around at exactly that gig and start switching things around. I'm like, I'm not playing like this anymore. The part of the story that I keep getting sidetracked from was while we were driving into Nashville, and I'm looking through downtown as we get off the interstate. The old way to go into Nashville is drive across the walking bridge that goes to East Nashville now. But we drove across, and I remember driving through it, just seeing downtown, and I remember rolling the window down and just holding my hand out into the air. I want to feel the vibe of the city. I want to feel the electricity, and I stuck my hand out, and in my mind, I made myself feel this, but I felt it and I could feel the energy, and that was the first time I ever went to Nashville. I did the same thing when I went to Memphis, but I didn't feel it the same. But in Nashville I did, and I wasn't playing country music at all, and country hadn't really hit yet. Clint Black was coming out with his first albums at that time that really were doing well, and Chattahoochee hadn't really even been released yet. There is no Garth Brooks yet, not really. I remember holding my hand out in the air, and I just felt like it was electric, and it just had a vibe. And cities sometimes just do that. Like, I love Asheville, North Carolina. I do. I've played there for years, playing in the resorts or playing at clubs. Love that city. It's fantastic, very open-minded, very artistic city, and that goes with everything that I dig. Something about Nashville really drew me, and that was the reason I ended up choosing that city. I was like, this is where I want to be. And then when my buddy Mason, we started talking about it, and country music was huge when we were doing this, talking about going, we're like, why not? Let's just go and just be musicians there and just enjoy, go play on the road. The reality hits, and you realize what that means after you kind of move there and you realize what's going on. It's so luck and talent. If you got a lot of talent, you have a lot of luck, and you have a personality that will keep you in that seat. That's really all Nashville is. You got to get along with people. And I played with some guys yesterday. So good. Everybody was so damn good. The guitar player and I, you could just tell it was easy to play with that dude because I show up prepared. I'm reading, which is a real drag, but I've already kind of worked the songs out, so I know how the flow of all this goes, of this guy's original music. And I am digging at playing original music right now, and I will play it just like I did in college. I'll play it for 5 people if they are willing to listen and give it 100%, and I love it. I've always had the energy to do it. I love the creative process like that. I just seem like I would be into it even more, but moving to Nashville kind of changed that, and I learned that you're really a cover musician in Nashville. This is what you do, and even if you go out with an artist, you're covering somebody else's work, and that is what Nashville is. It's just part of it. You're going out as trying to be the best cover musician you could be to play those 7 to 20 songs. to back them up to make them sound as best as they can. It was just a weird thing to remember that story because I absolutely thought about it because of what that guy commented about me not being from Nashville. And I thought about the first time I got to go, and it was electric, and I still feel that way now. It's such a fun city. It's neat to give off a positive vibe as a musician, and I love that. I absolutely love it. This drummer came up to me last night, and he was confused by my bass drum that I'm using with my electric hybrid drum set. It's acrylic, so it's clear, but it's only 6.5 inches deep. It's not deep at all. It's already got a microphone built into it with 2 drum heads built into it, even though it's a single-headed drum. Works really well, makes everything sound good, and so easy to do. Just plug it in and play. And the guy was like, "That's not a real bass drum?" I said, "It is, but," I said, "it has no volume." And he hit it, and he's like, "That sounds like nothing." I said, "Yeah." He says, "That sounds great out front." Yep. He says, "You're inspiring me to have good ideas." And I do. I like it, man. We should all inspire. I know it's cutthroat because people want to play, and then after a while you start learning that you got to have money to be able to live in Nashville, Tennessee. You know, you just can't move in with whatever girlfriend you have at the time. I watch one of my neighbors do this all the time. Yeah, that was my fun story. I like thinking about that. That was very different to do because I remember reaching out into that, and I was such an Athens musician at that time. I wasn't near ready for Nashville, Tennessee at all. You know, just because you can play some shit doesn't mean that you're going to be good at playing those songs. It is a different style. I still struggle playing with some of the musicians. The bass player and I, even though the other 2 musicians who we were hired to play behind liked us a lot. And he was like, "Man, y'all made that so easy to play." He says, "We've been struggling to play with people." And he says, "That is absolutely easy. Y'all know everything and y'all just play everything." But I have a hard time with the bass player. Some people you just get along with as a musician, and you gel, and everything just makes sense. And that guitar player and I absolutely gelled. It was easy to play. I could understand exactly where he was going every time without looking. It was a wonderful thing. But the bass player and I, he is absolutely a fantastic player. He is just ridiculous, and has one of the most incredible tenor, super high tenor voices out there in Nashville, and sings in pitch and understands chord structure. He's really a talented cat, but it ends up being sometimes hard to work with. It's not like we don't play together. A few times we've probably played together maybe 5 or 6 times. But some people you just get the first time you play beside them. They know exactly where you're playing. You know exactly where they're playing, just because some reason your paths musically have crossed through studies or other artists that you've worked with, or just listening to music that might be the same stuff that you like. And it seems to make sense. And there's certain bass players in town that I love to play with. And now that I'm learning and becoming a proficient bass player, I'm absolutely trying to become the guys that I love to play with, because that's what I heard. Even though I'm playing different notes than they would play, the feel, they got it. They just understand what the one is, and they just understand it. But certain bass players who are incredible, and I've played with some guys that just blow my mind how good and in the pocket these guys are, but their pocket is different than mine. And some people, it just works, and the pocket has to lock, and you got to be able to play. Even though the click's playing, they have to be able to lock it in, and that means you're going to play behind where the click is, which means you have to feel where this is. And if that bass player and that guitar player feel it in the same place and the drummer doesn't feel it, then the drummer's the problem. And it's just hard. Sometimes you just can't find the people that you want to lock in with. And there's some guys that I loved playing behind because they were so seasoned and so wise to what it was. And it made me feel bad when I couldn't lock into where they saw the groove. It made me feel awful. I work on it, and I constantly trying to find what is the formula behind this. And I've asked guys in touring bands that are huge touring bands. They describe what it is like for them as a drummer. Ben Caesar explained it to me as making your left arm and your arms feel really heavy. He said if you do that, it makes you play a little back from where the click is, and the click is right on top, and I've kind of always learned to be right on top, or even pushed to be right in front. It's just the aggressive music I was playing all through the 90s kind of forced me that once I settled into playing with a click. And now I absolutely prefer to do it because of bass player raising hell about making sure things aren't slowing down. But last night, that dude was starting stuff, and I'd lock him in, and next thing you know, it's 5 beats slower than he was playing. But that's where it felt good, so I was cool with doing that. But he looked at me like I was wrong, and he absolutely, it makes it hard to feel attention like that on stage. You don't feel comfortable, you don't want to look over and interact with him. The only time that I get positive feedback from these guys is when I go over the top with visuals. Instead of trying to play quietly and trying to, play to the room, absolutely knocking the shit out of my stuff. Being an entertainer, which is strange, because these guys are critiquing me on where I'm sitting my pocket to where their pocket, they feel the song. And as a bass player, it helps me understand where they're putting their fingers, because it makes sense. As a guitar player, it makes sense to where that 2 and the 4 Motown chick is. I gotta have it. I said, that's where the pocket is. That's where my left hand's gonna hit, and that's where it needs to be. But the guitar players don't always play in time, and I have got to play with probably 4 guitar players ever. That's terrible for me to say. 4 guitar players ever that absolutely, their time was incredible, and they understood time, and they understood how that worked, and it was fantastic. Because most guitar players, they like to rush through things, or they'll drag a rush. Singers like to fall behind. Bass players like to be behind, but they don't want to slow down. They want to stay at their same tempo, and that is tough for me, because I don't always hear that song the same way they hear it. Pocket comes down to the way people hear a song. It's what a pocket is. It's what the song is. The song sounds like this. The pocket might not be there without all the right musicians. It would be completely different if you put different guys in it, and they would aggressively play things differently. But if they were good together, they would play it the same, but it would have a different feel. That's a tough one to explain. Have fun. Bye.